Welcome to Kit Katastrophe. My name is Kit, and today we'll be taking a look at Transformers War for Cybertron Siege Voyager class STARSCREAM. This figure came out in 2019 as part of Wave 2 of the Voyager assortment. STARSCREAM goes back to his roots by transforming into a Cybertronian jet reminiscent of the Tetrajets in More Than Meets the Eye Part 1. Obviously, this isn't an exact replica of the spike-flying pyramid seen in the cartoon, but I think it's a good enough compromise. It certainly looks more skyworthy, with pronounced wings and an extended nose cone that feels good to hold in your hand. STARSCREAM has a translucent amber cockpit which fits snugly into his parabolic profile. The paintwork is pretty sparse, with hints of red along the wings and flanking the cockpit, with a smidge of blue at the tip of the nose cone. The rest of the paint budget seems to have gone to the weathering effects, which are most prominent on the Seeker mold. STARSCREAM's absolutely covered in scrapes, scratches, and pockmarks, suggesting a long life of hardened battle, which honestly feels a little out of character for this cowardly commander. Around the back is where we start to see the compromise. It's just STARSCREAM's chest. It's right there. Nothing was done to hide it. Sure, you could argue that his titty turbines become engines in this mode, if not for a trio of far more convincing thrusters above them. From this angle, you can also start to see this alternate mode's biggest sin, the undercarriage. Jet transformers are no stranger to kibble, but this is pretty egregious. Nothing is integrated at all into the jet mode. It's this kind of no-effort shit that's turned so many people off from this mold, and I don't blame them. At the very least, I can say that it all tabs together very solidly. STARSCREAM comes with 2 copies of the HPI null-ray laser launcher, which I just stick in the 5mm ports under his wings, though there are other options if you wish. I bring this up now because the weapons don't combine or form new weapons or anything, which is in contrast to nearly every other figure in this line. To start the transformation, you have to untab the robot mode chest plate. This will result in it coming clean off the hinge, unless you have the running change version that shared shelf space with Springer. But once you transform it as many times as I have, it's not hard to keep the chest plate on at least half the connection. It's extremely annoying, but not the end of the world. After that, it's become apparent that STARSCREAM is a shell former, as if all that underkibble didn't give it away already. The limbs all unfold from underneath very nicely, and I like the effort taken to compress the arms as much as possible for jet mode. The chest plate tabs in securely into the torso, so you don't have to worry about it anymore. The big surprise for me came when the nose cone splits in half to form the shoulder pylons. Be warned, as the tabs connecting the 2 nose cone halves are thickened by red paint, meaning you'll need the strength of Samson to pry them apart. I alleviated this by sanding off the paint using a nail file. After securing the backpack into place via a metric gross of tabs, all that's left to do is attach the null rays onto STARSCREAM's arms. My, this figure is one tall drink of water. Despite only ever owning 2 versions of the mold, I'm still so used to the stubby proportions of the classic Seeker mold, and seeing a G1 styled STARSCREAM with actually normal proportions kinda freaks me out a little. I think the main problem stems from the lower legs. They're just so straight and narrow, when I expect a little puff going on down there. It makes him and his kin look like stickmen. Otherwise, this is a pretty dead-on Seeker design, and despite being a shell former, doesn't have that much of a backpack. Sure, it's very wide, but that's to be expected from a Seeker, given the source material and all. The chest plate looks a lot more at home here, and the translucent amber plastic is also relegated to the pelvis, elongating the effective shape of the cockpit. The head sculpt doesn't quite hit the nail on the head, pun intended, as much as the classic mold did to my liking, but it's still pretty faithful, and even comes packed with some blood-red light piping. Just a shame that STARSCREAM's natural smirk only comes with Thundercracker. It's worth noting that there is a running change variant which fixes the chest plate issue, as I mentioned earlier. One way to tell the difference is on STARSCREAM's wings. As you can see on my copy, this STARSCREAM's Decepticon insignias are the Movieverse style, with narrower rhombic eyes. Allegedly, the running change features the G1 Decepticon logo with wider triangular eyes. Now, the biggest question when it comes to Siege STARSCREAM is he more posable than the Classics figure? And the answer to that is, of course, categorically so. Starting at the head, he has a ball-jointed head that goes all the way around. Even that is something the Classics figure couldn't do because of the cockpit getting stuck between these pylons here. It goes up and down a little, and side to side, a little. It has a little waggle, but not much. You can't get him to do very much besides nod obediently, which is out of character for Starscream, so I don't know why you would do that. At the shoulder, they have a swivel that goes forward and backwards until you hit the wing, but I'll get to that later. They go outwards all the way, which is nice and impressive, and a bicep swivel that goes around town until the cows come home, and he has a double jointed elbow, which gets a very, very nice curl there. And one thing that I do like, there is a slight butterfly joint there that goes forward and a little bit backwards to get that sort of puffing his chest out air to him. But he can also do this. Can he cross his arms? I've never tried. He can sort of approximate a cross arms pose, but, you know, I've seen better. The best part about the arms is that the null rays don't get in the way of posing. Yeah, they don't go far back enough to hit the wings, unlike the Classics mold, and they don't bang into anything else. Oh, and one thing that I neglected to mention, I'm recording this after the rest of this, is that he has a wrist swivel that goes all the way around. So, yeah, wrist swivel. One thing I keep neglecting to mention. Sorry. Now, speaking of those wings, you can bring them back all the way. This is mostly for transformation, just to keep it out of the way of everything. But there is also a secondary joint here, which brings them up. Which, you know, this could change display options, and it could be some kind of engineering for a potential Conehead retool. Please, Hasbro. The waist, in theory, spins around all the way. It spins 180 degrees for transformation, and it just gets stuck on the butt shit back here. So, it can approximate, you know, normal, natural movements and stuff, but you won't get anything crazy. The hips go all the way forward, and they go about that far back before they hit the backpack. They can go out all the way, so he can do a full split. He can become an H or an I, but the plastic of the thighs kind of rubs up against the pelvis here, so do be careful about that. I don't think anything's going to break, but things might wear down around this corner, but it shouldn't be too big of a problem. The thighs twist all the way around, and they don't really get snagged on anything, but if you keep the legs stock straight, you can't get much movement, but if you bring it outwards, then it can go all the way. Now, my favorite part about his posability, that knee bend. That is a very nice knee bend, and it is accommodated using this, a spring-loaded panel in the calf that gets sucked into his calf when you bend it past 90 degrees. And finally, at the feet, he has a slight ankle pivot, though, and a ankle rock that goes forward. It doesn't go much backwards, but, you know, it's not the end of the world. Also, his toes and heels can open and close as you wish. So, Starscream is a very posable figure, and I have a lot of fun posing him. And I think you would have fun posing him as well. Just like Prowl, Starscream was another Siege figure I was planning on skipping, but Dr. Lockdown's review of him changed my mind real quick. His two biggest problems, those being the bum joint on the chest plate and the shell former nature, aren't even real problems in the end, and in no way stop Starscream from being a treat. Coming from someone who now owns 4 versions of this mold at the time of writing the script, I can say that the Siege Seeker mold is well worth a pickup. It doesn't look like the Seeker gravy train is going to slow down anytime soon, so take your pick. There are plenty of flavors. This has been Kit Katastrophe. Transform and roll out.